And we're back here on WrestleRant. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Today we're talking Over the Edge 1998 as seen on the WWE Network. If you haven't already, check out all my other past installments of WrestleRant, all 300 of them. There's a lot of them here on the channel, over 350, all thanks to your guys and your amazing support. So before we get started here, I don't want to sound too soft, but thank you for keeping the show alive. You guys are great. So Over the Edge 1998, only one of two installments as seen on the network. I'd never seen the show before just last week. And again, and you guys know me well, if you've been listening to these reviews for any, period of time, at least over the last couple of months or so, since maybe even January, you would know I just don't like the year of 1998. It's not a bad year by any stretch of the imagination. Don't get me wrong, the Attitude Era was very, very fun. But from what I've noticed, that the 98 pay-per-views, as chaotic as they are, and I talked about this in my 98 Rumble review too back in January, that's why I say that. I noticed that this year, if you watch the pay-per-views back, I feel like you're only going to enjoy them if you were a fan at that period of time. I feel like these are very nostalgic pay-per-views because if you watch these pay-per-views expecting great matches, more often than not, that's not going to happen. Like, I didn't really like WrestleMania 14, I think it was that year. Yeah, 14. The Rumble match I thought was fucking all over the place. Not a bad match, just not my cup of tea. That's basically what 98 is for me. So, brief disclaimer, 98 was not a bad year. If anything, it was a great year for WWE. But just, it's not my personal cup of tea, so my coverage of this pay-per-view and any other pay-per-view I talk about from 1998, as you guys have noticed, might be slightly slanted and I'm just not going to enjoy it as much. But nevertheless, kicking off the show, LOD 2000, taking on the Disciples of Apocalypse, Hawk and Animal against Skull and 8-Ball. Not a very good match. I just thought, I love Legion of Doom, but the whole reboot that year, I thought the return at WrestleMania was cool. The pairing with Sonny didn't really work out too well. I don't really know what that was supposed to accomplish. Draws was just a stupid-ass gimmick. If you watch Beyond the Mat, he's gonna puke. He's gonna puke. It's just so fucking stupid. And Jim Ross alluded to it on commentary during this match, too. He said, oh, his friends call him puke. It's like, what? He wasn't even in the match. It was just, it was a mess. The match wasn't terrible. It just really wasn't that good. It was really a testament to not how unsuccessful the LOD reunion was in 1998. Very short-lived. Didn't really go anywhere, didn't fulfill its full potential, just didn't capture that same magic it did, many years earlier. After that, we had a pretty good match between Jeff Jarrett and Steve Blackman. I think Jeff Jarrett was still, he might have been in the company for a while at this point, but I feel like this was around the time he was just kind of finding a stride as a singles competitor. The match felt like it went longer than it probably should have. I figured it would be a quick match, but still, they got about 10 minutes. They made the most of it. Jeff Jarrett won. So good match, and I've never agreed with the fact that he thought he was a world championship caliber competitor, either in TNA or WCW or what have you. But for what he was in WWE at the Intercontinental Championship level, he was perfect in that role, and that really shined here. So good match, and of course, you can never go wrong with Steve Blackman. So we had after that, we had Marc Mero coming out, and the whole storyline here was this. On the Raw, I believe, before this pay-per-view, Marc Mero challenged Sable to a match and find somebody to represent her, where if they could beat Marc Mero, that he would rip the contract up, which I guess said that he had to be with her forever or whatever, that she had to be with him forever. I guess might have been the stipulation. I wasn't really paying too much attention. But if Steve Blackman beat whoever she chose to represent her, then she would be banned from WWF forever. So that was the whole stipulation here. And in the end, Sable comes down wearing the ring gear and says, I don't need a man to represent me. So kind of having that independence of a woman, which was great, and saying, I could take you on my own. So the bell rings, and Marc Mero lays down for Sable, rather. Thank God. Sable goes to the cover, and I guess he has a change of heart. He rolls her up, and he scores the victory, and Sable, has to leave WWF. They show her walking back up the ramp towards the end of the show. Get a nice shot of that butt, too, while she's walking back, exiting the arena. That sounds perverted, but she's hot as hell, though, and you can't teach that. So anyway, the match really wasn't existent, I guess. It lasted all of 20 seconds. It was a great angle. Mero's celebration afterwards was worth it, but then again, it really wasn't because Sable would get rehired a short time later by Vince McMahon, so this whole angle was a wasted time. So don't watch this pay-per-view thinking Sable legitimately had to leave. She was back maybe even the next night, but I know it was a short time later anyway that Vince, hired her back, so that was a waste, but the reaction was worth it, though. When Mero won, he was a great little pest heel. After that, we had Cain taking on Taka Michinoku and Justin Bradshaw, aka JBL. A good match, just Cain wasn't really a credible team. They won the match, and Taka thanked JBL afterwards, even in defeat, for being his partner. So kind of a mismatch here. The match really wasn't anything of substance, but they were a fun little group. They tried to, utilize dirty tactics whenever they could, so that made it a fun match by and large, but still really nothing too special. After that, The Rock came out to defend his Intercontinental Championship, or rather, Farouk came out to challenge for the championship, and he demanded The Rock come out to the ring, and The Rock didn't answer the open challenge. He was out cutting a promo earlier on in the evening, too, and talking about this match, I guess. I forgot. But if Rock didn't answer the 10 count, then this match would not happen. And, of course, he ended up coming out, and they had the match. And the match was all right. It was only 5 minutes. So you have a whole bunch of undercard matches. The Cain time match, Jarrett and Steve Blackman, LOD 2000 versus the Disciples of Apocalypse. All go 10 minutes each. Yet the Intercontinental Championship match that had the most story behind it couldn't even get 6-7 minutes, 5 minutes. So it felt very anticlimactic. And the finish felt very weak, too. Ron Simmons, or Farouk, rather, I guess at this point, he pins Rock, and the referee makes the 3 count, yet Rock's foot is on the rope. So he rings the bell, or he doesn't ring the bell. He makes the 3 count. Farouk thinks he wins. The crowd doesn't buy it anyway. They just don't react because they see the foot on the rope. So the referee, he goes up to Farouk thinking the match, is not over. Farouk thinks the match is over. And he's like, no, the match isn't over. The match isn't over. The match isn't over. Rock rolls up Farouk, gets his foot on the ropes, and retains the championship. So a good heel tactic from The Rock to retain his championship. And Farouk gets screwed over. It just felt very anticlimactic, and the match didn't really fulfill its full potential just because it only went 5 minutes. But they did make up make up for this afterwards with the post-match angle between D-Generation X and the Nation of Domination as they brawled. And some other fucker outside my dorm is banging on the room on the other side of the room. What a weirdo. I don't know. I live in a weird fucking dorm, people. But anyway, so that match was good for what it was, not what it could have been, but the post-match celebration, or rather the post-match brawl between DX and the Nation of Domination set up there a little match for later on in the night very nicely. We had Cain versus Vader in a mask versus mask match. You had to know that Cain was winning, obviously. Vader by this point meant nothing. And I've probably talked about it before, but they never really utilized him to his full potential. He was there. He had a WWE Championship run, or contention rather, in 1996, and that was about it. They never really did anything with him in 1997. And in 98, he was basically wasted. So Cain wins. The match was good, but it really wasn't anything special because you knew who was winning. So Cain wins. Vader has to unmask, and he calls himself, I'm a fat piece of shit. I'm just nothing more than a fat piece of shit, and he walks away. And then he put the mask back on when the next night anyway. So in the remainder of his run with the company, he was masked regardless. So again, a waste of a stipulation, kind of a common theme throughout the show. But the match itself was good for what it was. The mask versus mask stipulation, that's a tongue twister. Mask versus mask stipulation meant nothing because they remasked anyway a short time later. But a lot like with the Sable angle. But the match itself was all right. After that, we had a 6-man tag team match pitting The Nation, Owen Hart, Kama Mustafa, and D'Lo Brown against D-Generation X, Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, and Triple H. A pretty good match. Probably went a lot longer than it should have at almost 20 minutes. They still made it entertaining. It was well wrestled. In the end, The Nation picks up the victory. Owen Hart finally gets his vengeance over Triple H. That was a nice little angle there. The match itself wasn't anything great, but it was well wrestled and a lot better than a few of the undercard matches. And then we get to the main event, a no disqualification Falls Count Anywhere match, which was originally not supposed to be. But they changed the rules as they went along with Vince McMahon as the special guest ref. You had Taker as the special guest enforcer. You had Pat Patterson as the ring announcer. Gerald Briscoe there at ringside as well. So a lot of interference, overbooked as all hell. But, unlike what I talked about on Saturday in Extreme Rules 2015, that with this match, I thought all the interference, all the overbooking, all the stipulations worked to the match's advantage because it really felt like Austin was outnumbered here by the corporation, by the McMahon, corporation, whatever, with Patterson and Briscoe and everyone else, Dude Love. And they really wanted to take that title off of Dude Love and get vengeance from Unforgiven when Stone Cold blasted McMahon with a steel chair shot to the head. So I thought it was a really, really, really entertaining match. If you hate shenanigans and hate overbooking and hate that kind of thing, you're probably not going to like this match. I didn't to start, but they really picked up the pace down the stretch. They went all around the arena, which was great. They really utilized that no disqualification stipulation. They didn't just stay in the ring. And by the end, a lot of suspenseful near falls and trying to screw Steve Austin out of the championship. And in the end, he does. He lands 2 stunners on Dude Love. He takes an unconscious hand of McMahon, slaps the ring mat 3 times to retain his championship. So he overcomes the odds and is still the WWE champion. So, great match. Easily the match tonight. That really kind of goes without saying. But really, really, really good quality main event here between Stone Cold and Dude Love, who had great chemistry back in '98. Made up for the rest of the show. I did not think this was a good show at all. Like I said, a lot of the stipulations were reversed a short time later anyway. So that kind of made these stipulation matches worthless. And just the in-ring action really wasn't that great, which was kind of par for the course in '98. You just kind of watch it for the chaotic, wild brawl, which was basically what the main event was, which is why I enjoyed it. But when you have it in every match, it kind of grows thin for someone like me who was used to more wrestling-based shows. I don't know. I'm just more of a ruthless aggression guy, and even an '80s wrestling fan, I guess. I don't know. But not a bad show. If you watch it, you're not wasting your time. But there are better shows to watch that I've reviewed here on WrestleRant, including Extreme Rules 2015, like I talked about on Saturday. Cheap plug. If you want to check out that review, do so now. And also, of course, the Over the Edge 1999 show is more significant for the show where Owen Hart passed away. So I'll be talking about that and how it was edited off the WWE Network in the replay of the show. So I'll talk about that on Saturday. But that is my review of Over the Edge in 1998. So, of course, the only match to watch from the show is the main event. The rest of the show isn't bad, but just kind of there. And unless you're a 98 fan, an Attitude Era fan, you're probably not going to like the show too much. You're probably going to not fall asleep. You're going to I don't really want to watch this. And I would have done that had I not had to watch the whole thing for this review. I probably would have skipped out a half hour in. But that is Over the Edge in 1998. So like I said, we'll be back on Saturday with my review of Over the Edge in 1999. But in the meantime and in between time, you guys can catch me on Twitter at WrestleRant, on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews, right here on YouTube by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. And of course, the website at nextairawrestling.net. All the links are down below in the description box. We'll be back on Saturday. Have an awesome rest of your week, guys. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch you folks down the road.